Picture this. You're standing at the airport gate, tickets in hand, passport ready, medications packed perfectly. You've done everything by the book. But then the airline agent looks at your documents and says those devastating words. "I'm sorry, we can't let you board." Your dream vacation, thousands of dollars gone in a single conversation. And the worst part, you had no idea this rule even existed. If you're over 60 and planning to travel in 2026, what I'm about to share could save you from this nightmare scenario. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what documentation mistakes are costing travelers their trips right now. Welcome back to Move to USA, where we break down the immigration and travel regulations that actually matter to your life. I'm here to give you the straight facts about new TSA and international border requirements that are catching travelers completely off guard in 2026. Here's the reality. Both domestic and international travel rules have fundamentally changed this year. The Transportation Security Administration began full enforcement of Real ID requirements back in May 2025 and starting February 1st, 2026. They're implementing a $45 fee for travelers without compliant identification. Meanwhile, Europe launched its entry-exit system in October 2025 with full implementation reaching completion this April. And later this year, the European Travel Information and Authorization System will add another layer of requirements. I've researched over 200 traveler complaints and consulted official government sources to identify the most common traps that are costing people their trips. These aren't scare tactics. These are documented requirements that enforcement agencies are actively implementing right now. Let's get into the 8 critical rules you need to understand before your next flight. Rule 8, the 6-month passport validity trap. Let me start with something that surprises almost everyone. The expiration date printed in your passport isn't actually your real deadline for international travel. Many countries around the world now require that your passport remains valid for 6 months beyond your entry date, and some even calculate this from your departure date. Here's a real scenario that's happened to countless travelers. You book a trip to Thailand with a passport that expires in March. Your flight departs in January, giving you more than 2 months of validity. You arrive at check-in feeling confident, only to be stopped immediately. Thailand requires 6 months of passport validity from your entry date. The airline agent explains you'll be back in 2 weeks, but that doesn't matter under their regulations. Result: non-refundable tickets worth thousands of dollars become worthless in one conversation. This requirement affects much of Asia, parts of Africa, and several Caribbean destinations. For travelers in their 60s and 70s, this catches people particularly hard because passport renewal isn't the quick errand it used to be. Getting to the passport office, standing in line, dealing with processing delays, it all requires more energy and planning than it did decades ago. What you need to do? Check your passport right now. Add 6 months to both your entry date and return date. If your passport expires anywhere in that window, start the renewal process immediately. In the United States, you can begin at travel.state.gov. Processing currently takes 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer during busy travel seasons, so don't wait until December for a January trip. The rule of thumb, your passport should be valid for 6 months after you return home, not just while you're traveling. When booking any international trip, ask this specific question. Does this destination require 6 months of passport validity? Taking that one extra step can save you thousands. Pro tip, take a photo of your passport's expiration date and set a phone reminder 10 months before it expires. That gives you a comfortable 2-month buffer to renew without last-minute panic. Rule 7, the invisible passport damage problem. Passport expiration is actually the easier issue compared to what happens when your passport looks brand new, but the system decides it's damaged. Immigration officers have told me they're now rejecting passports for damage you literally cannot see with the naked eye. Your passport might look perfect. Clean cover, smooth pages, clear photo, but you've developed a habit of folding it and sliding it into your back pocket because you don't like carrying a separate travel wallet. At the gate for your international flight, the agent scans your passport. Error. They try again. Error. Your passport's RFID chip isn't reading. This passport is damaged. You protest that it looks new, and on the outside it does. Inside, however, the chip is dead. Inside the cover of modern passports is a tiny antenna. Fold it enough times and it cracks. The chip dies even though the passport still appears brand new externally. travelers who keep passports for years and don't inspect them regularly, combined with weaker eyesight that makes small ripples, water stains, or peeling plastic easy to miss, are particularly vulnerable. From 2026, more countries are implementing automated border gates that rely entirely on that embedded chip. If the chip won't scan, the system treats your passport as broken, not borderline acceptable. What you need to do, never fold or roll your passport and stop carrying it in your back pocket. Keep it flat in a protective wallet, document pouch, or hard shell holder. If your vision isn't great, ask family members or friends to check your passport under good lighting. If your photo has badly faded or you look very different now than when it was issued, renew early rather than taking chances. If you're already at the counter and the chip fails, one calm statement works far better than arguing. I'd like to request manual processing and I'll replace this passport after this trip. Rule 6. Real ID requirements and the new verification fee. This requirement is catching many travelers over 60 completely off guard, even on simple domestic trips to visit family. Since May 7, 2025, the Transportation Security Administration began full enforcement of Real ID. And starting February the 1st, 2026, they're charging a $45 fee to passengers without compliant identification. Here's what's happening at airports right now. A grandmother shows up for a short domestic flight to visit her grandchildren. She hands over her driver's license, the same one she's used for years. The TSA agent examines it and says, "This doesn't have the Real ID star. Do you have your passport?" She didn't bring it. It's a flight inside the United States. Why would she need a passport for domestic travel? They direct her to use the TSA Confirm ID system, which requires paying $45 and undergoing additional identity verification that can take 10 to 30 minutes or longer. Even after completing this process and paying the fee, there's no guarantee TSA can verify her identity. The Confirm ID receipt is only valid for 10 days, meaning she'll need to repeat this process for her return flight if it's more than 10 days later. Why does this hit people over 60 so hard? Many still use licenses they obtained years ago with no little gold or black star in the upper corner. They don't fly frequently enough to follow every TSA update. And getting to the Department of Motor Vehicles, standing in line or driving across town isn't as easy as it used to be. What you need to do? Check your driver's license right now. Look at the upper right corner. If there's no star marking, that license is not Real ID compliant. For flights, you'll need either a Real ID license or your passport, as TSA accepts both as valid identification. The best approach, if you're over 60 and fly at least once or twice a year, use your passport as your main identification for flying, even on domestic trips. TSA accepts it everywhere, and you don't have to worry about whether your state has caught up with Real ID requirements yet. This eliminates the risk of unexpected fees and delays entirely. Rule 5. Europe's Biometric Registration System. Starting October 12, 2025, Europe began rolling out its new entry-exit system with full implementation completed by April 10, 2026. This represents a fundamental change in how border control works when entering European countries. Here's what travelers are experiencing. A couple in their 70s lands in Paris for their anniversary trip. They expect a quick passport stamp like they've received for decades. Instead, they're directed to a biometric kiosk. Place your fingers here. Look at the camera. One partner has arthritis and his fingers won't sit flat on the scanner. The machine fails once, twice, 6 times. By the time they finally clear immigration, they've missed their train connection and need to pay hundreds of dollars to rebook. Under the new EES system, Europe now captures your face photo and 4 fingerprints every time you enter or leave the Schengen zone. If you're older, walk slowly, use mobility aids, or have stiff or shaky hands. This process simply takes longer than it did under the old stamp system. What you need to do? Arrive at European airports about 30 minutes earlier than you used to, especially during your first entry when your biometric data is being registered for the first time. If you have arthritis, hand tremors, or other medical conditions affecting your hands, tell the border officer immediately. They have alternative procedures for medical issues, but they only implement them if you speak up. Once you're registered in the system the first time, future entries are typically faster because your biometric data is already stored. However, if you're connecting through Europe, build in at least 90 minutes between flights. Skip those tight 45 to 60-minute layovers. If you're over 60 or don't move quickly, one slow biometric line plus a long walk between gates is all it takes to miss your connection. If you're traveling with a spouse or companion, register together on your first entry so you stay in the same processing queue on future trips. The key phrase if scanners have trouble reading your fingerprints. I have a medical condition with my hands that makes fingerprints difficult to scan. Is there an alternative process? Rule 4, the ETS pre-approval requirement. Europe isn't finished implementing new requirements for trips in late 2026 and beyond. Americans and other visa-exempt travelers will need ETS approval before flying to Europe with the system scheduled to start operations in the last quarter of 2026. Most travelers don't even know this requirement exists yet. Picture booking a Dream River cruise through Europe. Passport ready, tickets printed, bags packed. At check-in, the agent asks, "Do you have your ETS authorization?" You've never heard of it. They cannot check you in without it. You jump on airport Wi-Fi, rush through an online form, pay the fee, and hope it's approved in time. Most approvals process within minutes, but some applications can take up to 96 hours. ETS is Europe's version of an online pre-screening system, similar to the United States ESTA program. For travelers over 60, standing at the airport under that kind of stress waiting for approval is exactly what your body doesn't need. And if family members book the trip for you, it's easy for everyone to assume a valid passport is enough and forget about ETS completely. What you need to do? Apply for ETS at least 1 week before your flight. Earlier if you prefer to move slowly or aren't comfortable with online forms. Use only the official European Union website and don't hesitate to ask someone you trust for help if online applications aren't your strength. Once approved, ETS is valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. If you get a new passport, you'll need a new ETS application since it's tied to your specific passport number. After receiving approval, print the confirmation, save a digital copy on your phone, and email it to yourself as backup. Think of ETSs as Europe's version of TSA pre-check. You apply once, then use it for multiple trips, but it's electronically linked to your passport number, so a new passport means starting the application process again. Don't let a missing ETS turn your dream European vacation into a full day of airport stress and uncertainty. Rule 3, the digital ID verification trap. This requirement is catching many technologically confident seniors by surprise. TSA now accepts digital identification in Apple Wallet and Google Wallet at select checkpoints. Sounds convenient. No physical wallet, no plastic card to lose. But here's the trap that's costing people their flights. A grandfather was proud he'd added his digital driver's license to his iPhone by himself. At a major airport, he confidently held up his phone at the security checkpoint. The scanner beeped red. The agent said, "We don't accept digital IDs at this checkpoint. Do you have your physical license?" He didn't. His state had advertised the digital ID as TSA approved, so he left the real card at home. After 30 minutes of questions and supervisor calls, they finally cleared him. But his boarding window had closed and the flight had already departed. Travelers get caught by this because they trust that TSA-approved label without reading the fine print that digital IDs are only valid at select airports and specific security lanes. And standing through surprise secondary screening is far more exhausting in your 60s and 70s. One dead battery, one scanner glitch, or one skeptical agent is all it takes if you don't have the physical card as backup. What you need to do, always carry your physical identification, license, or passport, even if you have a digital version. Treat digital ID as backup, never as replacement. If your state offers it, go ahead and add it to Apple Wallet or Google Wallet, but still bring your wallet with the physical card. Keep your phone charged and your screen brightness turned up before reaching TSA checkpoints. The key response, if your digital ID fails, immediately say, "I have my physical ID as backup," and hand it over without argument or explanation. Insider approach. Take a clear photo of the front of your physical ID and store it in a password-protected note or secure application. While it's not an official form of identification, if you ever lose your wallet or passport, that image can speed up verification processes significantly. Rule 2. Medically necessary liquids that still get confiscated. This is the requirement TSA doesn't publicize clearly, but it affects seniors more than any other group. On paper, liquid medications over 3.4 ounces are allowed through security if they're medically necessary, and you declare them. In actual practice at checkpoints, it's a very different story. You pack an 8 Oz liquid fiber supplement in your carry-on bag. At screening, an agent pulls your bag aside. This exceeds the liquid limit. You explain that you take this every day for medical reasons. They ask if you have documentation. You had no idea documentation was necessary. They confiscate the bottle. $28 gone, and the next 3 days of your trip are spent dealing with uncomfortable health issues instead of enjoying yourself. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. TSA does have a medical exemption for liquid medications, medical solutions, and some liquid supplements over 3.40, but that exemption only works reliably if you declare them up front and allow officers to test them. If you leave these items buried in your bag, the scanner flags them. An officer pulls them out, sees a mystery bottle over the limit with no declaration and no paperwork, and the easiest decision is confiscation. What you need to do? Separate all liquid medications over 3.4 ounces before reaching security. Put them in a small clear plastic bag or dedicated pouch. As you approach the X-ray belt, state clearly, "I have medically necessary liquids to declare." Officers will typically place the bag in a separate bin, possibly run a quick chemical test, and you're through in about 30 seconds. Bring supporting documentation whenever possible, a prescription label with your name, a doctor's note, or the original bottle showing your name and dosing instructions. While it's not always required, if you encounter a strict officer, that label becomes your protection, especially if you're older and truly cannot go several days without that medication. Rule of thumb, if it's a liquid over 3.4 ounces and you need it for medical reasons, whether prescription, supplement, or even over-the-counter products you rely on daily, declare it. The key phrase, if an agent pushes back, these are medically necessary liquids exempt under TSA guidelines. Pro strategy, print the TSA page about medical liquids from tsa.gov, fold it, and keep it in your medication bag. Travelers who do this report the conversation instantly becomes smoother when they can point to the official rule in writing, eliminating arguments and confusion. Rule 1. The blank passport pages requirement. This is the silent trip killer, and it affects seniors more severely than any other group. You can have years remaining before your passport expires and still be denied boarding at the gate. All it takes is not having enough empty space inside that passport book. Many countries quietly require 1 to 4 completely blank pages, often 2 side-by-side pages for visas and entry-exit stamps. If you don't have the right kind of blank pages available, airlines can refuse to board you, even if your passport looks perfect and doesn't expire for years. That's how people lose thousands of dollars in non-refundable tickets in a single gate conversation. Seniors face higher risk because you tend to keep the same passport for many years, collecting stamps and visas without actively counting remaining pages. Weaker eyesight and memory make it easy to miss out or overlook half-used pages. And with United States passports, you cannot add pages anymore like you could years ago. If the book is full, you must renew entirely, meaning more paperwork, more waiting, more logistics. What you need to do? Open your passport and examine it today. Count how many pages are totally blank. No stamps, no scribbles, no marks of any kind. Look carefully to confirm you have at least 2 blank pages in a row side by side. If you're down to fewer than 4 blank pages total, start planning renewal immediately, especially if you have a longer trip with multiple country stops. One complex itinerary can consume those last pages faster than you'd expect. Don't forget about grandchildren's passports if they're traveling with you. Child passports only last 5 years and fill up quickly, so they're more likely to be expired or out of space sooner than adult passports. Smart habit. When you receive a new passport, photograph the first page with your personal information and the last page showing the issue and expiration dates. Save these on your phone. After each major trip, flip through and assess how many fresh pages you've used. When the book reaches about halfway full, Start working on renewal and let family members help with online forms if technology isn't your comfort zone. The key question when booking international trips: does this destination require a minimum number of blank passport pages? It takes 10 seconds to ask that question, but it can save a vacation worth several thousand and weeks of planning. In the end, these 8 requirements aren't here to scare you or discourage you from traveling. They're the cheapest insurance you can possibly have. A bit of preparation now means your energy after 60 goes into enjoying the trip, not arguing with airport staff at gates or dealing with unexpected rejections. If you've made it this far in the video, you're already doing more than most travelers your age ever will. You now know the specific traps that cost seniors the most money, the most energy, and the most stress before major trips. Take 10 minutes after watching this video. Grab your passport, your license, and your medications. Run through these checks while everything is still fresh in your mind. Your future self standing at the airport will genuinely thank you. If this information helped you feel even a little more in control of your travel planning, please hit that like button so YouTube shows this video to more travelers over 60 who desperately need it. Tell me in the comments which rule surprised you the most, or which one you've already encountered at TSA or immigration checkpoints. Your experiences help other viewers prepare better. And if you want more step-by-step senior-friendly travel guides, from carry-on packing strategies to new baggage rules and seating regulations, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You've worked too hard your entire life to let one missing passport page or one forgotten authorization form ruin your trip. This is Move to USA, helping you navigate the complex world of travel documentation and requirements. Let's make sure your next flight is spent in the air, enjoying your journey, not arguing at the gate over preventable documentation issues.